Did I get Chris Miles?
Yep. Todd Tyler?
Yep. Present.
Todd Tyler.
Yes.
So-
Here.
So,
And that's everyone except for
Yep.
Joe.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've got
So
everyone
Joe
but
Joe did reach out and say that he might be a little bit late this evening.
Yeah.
Due to a work conflict that came up last night late.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So roll call's done. Pledge is done. Community comments. Toby, do you have any community comments?
I have none, and I do not see any in the message area.
Okay. Okay. Dan, then we're going to move to item 3, which is reopening efforts.
Underneath recognition of success, we are certainly not to the opening of school yet, but I want to recognize all the people that are working hard to make it happen, including staff here at school and parents that are getting on the calls and video chats to hear about it, and community members who are reaching out to get more information on what's going to happen here in Fort Everett as we reopen. Everything that you need to know about so let's finish the congratulations and recognition. So I really do want to thank the school staff that's been moving furniture like crazy. Craig and his team, I know I mentioned it before. We are not done moving furniture as guidance changes or is clarified. There's still more work to do. So we'll be doing that probably right up until about the time school starts. For certain, I want to thank the parents who are going online again and watching the video chats and the live one we had the other night, and going on and taking a look at the remote learning preference survey, as well as the previous surveys that we have done, because I know there's things that are a lot more fun to do than think about the reopening of school and how that affects your children when it's the middle of August. But I'm glad that people are doing so, because the sooner we have that information from parents and families, the better we're going to be in being set up for everybody coming back. So we have seen a pretty good spike in remote learning preferences in the last couple of days. We're up over 70 now. That's as of earlier today. But I just want to recognize everybody for paying attention and for becoming involved. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Mrs. Jones and Mr. Ratty are working hard to make this happen. And there certainly is still a lot more to be done, but congratulations on where we are so far.
Great. And you have a couple of reopening things coming up as well, right? I don't know if you planned on talking about those later, but you have a couple coming up, right?
Yes, I do. I'll talk about the plan more. I just wanted to do the recognition to start, and we'll progress through, and then we can go from there.
Great. Okay, thanks. All right. So as far as board committees go, we don't have anything upcoming or anything scheduled, at least. The committees were set. And we don't have anything scheduled, correct, Dan?
We do not at this time. We're pretty much focused on the reopening, and that's going to be the month of August for sure, and probably well into September before we talk about wanting to have a committee meeting, unless it's absolutely necessary. We just need to commit all the resources possible to getting students back in our building here safely and staff back in our building here safely. And there is a lot of boxes to check.
Yeah, no doubt. And then we typically do a board walkthrough prior to opening. But with COVID, is that something we want to do, or just have a couple of people do? Or?
Yep. So we can. And I was going to, when we talked about reopening down under discussion, we can do it right now. I would like to schedule a date for the board to come and see where we are, but it's got to be closer to the opening than right now. Probably that first week in September would be best. And I think the board can discuss it right now, what you think might work if you have your calendars right there, and I will do the same. But normally we have a couple new board members, so normally we open it up to the full board, but certainly members of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, it's a requirement that the buildings walked at least once per year by the board. We open up to everybody, and we're happy to have everybody, but this is going to be a little bit different year. So yes, you can come. We'll stay 6 feet apart. We'll wear masks, all those things that we have to do so we can be in the same area together. And certainly we would just try to limit our touching of things in different areas so that we can and make sure that we don't have an entire building to disinfect every surface of, because 9 people walked through.
Yeah. Did you want to send out like a doodle or whatever that thing is that you send out just when you know that the building is prepared enough for us to go through?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
No,
put it on my
put it
to-do
out.
list to send a doodle out with a couple of dates. I'll probably send that tomorrow or early next week, even though I'm not exactly sure where we'll be. But if it's a week before school starts, we better be pretty darn close, right? So I'll send a few dates out, and if we get here and a few rooms aren't exactly how we need to have them yet, the board just needs to understand that.
Gotcha. Cool. Anyone
can
else
I say
have anything
something?
on? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Tom. Committees, I apologize. I did miss that meeting where we established our committees for this upcoming year. We do have 2 new board members on with Dan and Christina, and I don't mind backing off. So that particular day, I know you might not have went on to one of those committees, but if you'd like to, I wouldn't mind stepping off one of those committees. So again, let me know if you need me to step off for you two to get involved in some of the committees on that.
Yeah. We did get them involved in a couple, Todd. I think if you look in the board packets, I believe the committee breakdown is there. But the health and safety and building and grounds is me, Ella, Joe, Dan Shields, and Anita is an alternate. But again, it's open to whomever wants to come. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Moving on.
Yep.
So superintendent report, we talked about the reopening plan, but what else you got for that, Dan?
Yeah, so I want to just I want to share my screen quickly, or one of my screens, and it should be the school website. And it's loading, and I've got another. There it is. So just I keep pushing people back to this. We're trying to put the stuff at the top. Not that we want to have 100 buttons at the top, but we want to make sure that reopening plan information's up there. There was an additional submission that was required by governor's order that had to be put up by last Friday, which we did have ours up by last Friday. It's under the reopening plan, and anything that you're looking for that has to do with the reopening plan should be there. And you can see I had to add Appendix B as required by the governor. So you have the full plan, Appendix B that was put there, and you can see the everything else that we've tried to put up there, including the first parent community question and answer session was recorded and put up there. And I know we had at least one board member on there, and certainly I'm looking for maybe some feedback on that process. But so far the feedback has been good. We have 2 more of those planned, and I'm going to go back for a second. And just for people who are wondering where all that is, we're pushing it out through social media, but all the virtual meetings, I know we've been through this before, but you can see there's the one from the 13th. Here we are this evening, and tomorrow we have a community and parent Q&A forum at noon, and we have one at 4:30. The reason for the noon is because we do know we have community members and parents that work evenings. So we were trying to give them an opportunity to participate if they want to, because we do everything in the evening. That's good for a lot of people, but we know it's not good for everyone. And it's worth stating that we had our first one scheduled prior to the governor coming on and saying that schools are required to do so. So we were a step ahead on that one. When he said you had to do 3, certainly we had to schedule more. But when our first one was scheduled, it said we're doing this one this night and more to come if necessary. So we put the other 2 in there for everyone. And you can see that our next Board of Ed meeting is on the 14th. Right now, the extension of the video conferencing meeting like this goes till September 5. Whether or not we get an extension to go beyond remains to be seen. But we need to be ready to go in person on the 14th if that extension is not granted. And I think many of you would like to be back in the same room distance anyways.
Oh,
And it probably would be the 9 board members and me and possibly Toby, but not necessarily public participation in person at that time. But we'll wait and see what comes out for an order, and we'll go on from there. Maybe we're in the gymnasium, and we're all spread out quite widely. But if 100 people show up, very quickly our capacity runs over. So we have to do it so that everybody's socially distanced and we're meeting all the safety requirements for group gatherings.
Dan, I did go back and I was on my phone during the reopening plan, listening to some of it. And then I went back today to listen to it again. And, you know, from my view, there was still a lot of people that were not muted, and it was difficult to hear, you know, all three of you at different times from my perspective when I went back and watched that video. The other question that I just want to point that out, but the other question that I had too is, you mentioned that before that the Board of Education members could go in there and see the chat. There were a lot of questions that were answered that were not answered, I think, publicly. Some of them were just quick answers, possibly through the chat. Is that an option where we can go and look at the chat as Board of Education members?
Yeah, absolutely. I can make it available, and that's correct. So I guess I should probably talk about that publicly. How we worked our format. Different schools are doing different things. We're doing it live for real. We're taking real questions. And so during ours, I was seated at a computer just like this, and I was talking and interacting with a screen. And Mrs. Jones was on one side and Mr. Red on the other, and they were watching the chat and they were answering the ones they could answer. If they had some that they couldn't answer, they were deferring to me, and I was answering those live. So that's kind of the format that we're going to continue to use. But yeah, I can make those available. I'm not exactly sure how, but I know I get a transcript of those chats, Todd. But I'll make it available. And we got some positive feedback. Some districts are asking people to email all their questions ahead of time and then answering them asynchronously, so not live. And we chose to do the live. I think it's worked out well for our community, and each school is certainly going to figure out what works best for their community. But we're happy to do live ones.
Dan, we're required to do 3 or more.
3. Yeah, 3. That's what I had on the plan. Other than I want to assure people, I didn't bring the gallon jug in here with me, and I didn't bring the face shield in here with me. I didn't bring the mask in here with me. But we have the appropriate amount of PPE to get this place up and running here in our building. I don't mean it's coming. I mean, there's 32 gallons of hand sanitizer. There's a couple of hundred little 2-ounce bottles on top of that. There's over 2,000 masks. There's over 180 face shields. There's all sorts of gloves. But I'm going to put it out there publicly again. We are asking employees, staff, faculty, and students to provide their own masks. And the supply that we have is if a student's mask or a staff member's mask becomes soiled throughout the day or breaks or you lose it, we provide a backup. We can't possibly be the mask provider every day for the over 500 people that enter the building. We would very quickly be without a supply. So I wanted to just share that out there. Additionally, we have purchased 2 industrial foggers to be used in the classrooms for disinfecting, and Mr. Masson has the chemicals on hand, has the foggers on hand, and has the staff lined up to be trained to operate those machines. So that's going to help us make sure that we're doing the disinfecting appropriately, and with the limited number of staff that we have on our cleaning team, that we can actually get it done in a reasonable amount of time on top of the other duties they normally have. That's what I had for reopening at this time. Moving down, I put merger study update is on there, and it's important to say that the merger study update is in no way in reaction to what occurred with our budget vote. This process has been playing out on a timeline, on the appropriate timeline. So whether the budget had passed or not, you'd be hearing this update this evening. So you can see later on in the agenda, there's a motion to allow the BOCES to enter into a contract where an annexation study occurs between Fort Edward and South Glens Falls. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's where we are. We've had a couple of meetings with the consultants, at least I have, with the superintendent from South Plains Falls, Christine Orr, and the central staff. And certainly the board did the interviews of the consultants back in July. So just wanted to put that out there. And once this evening's meeting is over, South Plains Falls has one as well. There will be some public announcements and things like that, and information about the committee and how to be on the committee and what the makeup of the committee is will all go public. And we're going to have a shared website, not owned by us, not owned by them, where we'll put the information up as things become available. So I wanted to share that as far as merger study update information. Staffing update. Let me just let that person in. So staffing update, we are working to fill the holes that we have. This evening, you will not see Mrs. Jones or Mr. Ratty on the call. They are interviewing science teachers. This morning, we started interviewing nurse candidates. We interviewed a few today. We have one more scheduled for tomorrow. It's actually in the evening because we're trying to be cognizant of people in the nursing field's schedules. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure we're interviewing the candidates so we can get the best person for our school, for our students and staff to have a skilled nurse here. So there's the nurse position, there's a science teaching position, there's actually 1.8 science teaching positions, there's a half-time special education, and there's tentative long-term music substitute. So we're working through them. I'm hoping to have names for most or all of them for you folks next week. So we are going to have a special meeting to complete our staffing. That's just not uncommon in August, as people have been on the board for a while now. And the pre-K grant update, I know the board had heard from me that the state had not yet released any money on the schedule of payments to schools. I want to let you know that that did occur. Although I know Charlene's on, and I'm going to ask her to talk to this, not this specific thing, but state aid in general. As she and I spoke earlier today, she was hearing some information, some additional information. But the pre-K grant, they've said that they're going to push out our allocation in the appropriate timeline, but they're going to reduce it by at least 20%. And they say in their memo, at least 20%. And our allocation's just over $103,000. So a little quick math, that takes you down to what, 80, just call it 80,000. And it could be more. So we need to have a conversation about that, because we were planning to have one half-day section of pre-K this year, just the morning. And right now we have about 10 students registered for that, based on what I was told this morning. So maybe things have changed throughout the day. And in order for that program and that aid to come in where we needed to cover the costs, we really need to have like 17, 18 children in that morning section, because that grant money, that $103,000 that they're projecting for us, minus the 20%, so call it 80,000, is based upon actual enrollment in the program. And they use our number that we're based on, that $103,000 is based upon us having 22 FTE students in there. So at least 11, it used to be at least 11 in the morning and 11 in the afternoon, right? We need it to be 18 in the morning divided by half. So that's 9 FTE students to make sure we're getting that appropriate level of funding. If we only have that 10 students or less, you need to have a conversation about if we can afford to run that program. And certainly early intervention is key, and youth education is key. But we'll have to have that conversation. You'll have to have that as a board, because we don't have money anyplace else to fund that, as you have heard from me about several things. So that I know that's not the greatest news. The good news is they're releasing money, so everybody's not canceling it wholeheartedly across the state. The concerning news is that we've got to pay critical attention to how much aid that's going to generate this year to offset the actual cost of the program. that's what I had under there.
Dan, what happens? So we don't have pre-K. That 80,000 and change just doesn't come, right?
Correct. You'd have to reduce your expenditures to match your loss in revenue. Right. So you've got to cut staff basically.
I'm sorry. Maybe something went over my head. So it's 103,000 allocated to us for pre-K. They're cutting it 20%, so it's 80 and change. We don't have pre-K. We don't get that 80, correct?
Correct.
Right. So that 80 is allocated for pre-K. So anyone
Right.
attached to pre-K then would be, that's what you're talking about as far as you have to cut.
Yeah. So it's, and again, it's not necessarily the individuals attached to pre-K. It's the least senior individuals in those
Whatever
jobs.
job that is. I got you. Yeah. Right. Because that's funded completely by that aid.
That aid doesn't cover our complete costs. It doesn't even come close. But without it, you've got to make up that. You've got to cut the expenditures by at least the amount you're losing.
Right.
So Dan, is it clear that you need 9 in the morning and 9 in the afternoon to run the program?
So I'm not saying we need 18 in the morning so that our FTE number is 9.
Mm-hmm.
That's our best case scenario because we already made a decision. We were only doing the morning. We don't have enough teachers here on staff to do a morning and an afternoon because we were trying to do that as a cost savings. So we got to get to that. We got to get to that 9 to maximize the aid that we're going to get.
And you can do that.
It still doesn't get us to what we would have to get to for student full-time equivalents to get the full 100,000, Todd.
Okay.
But it makes it as best we can with the reductions we've already made.
And it's possible to do that 18 or so with social distancing based on how you've figured it out.
Well, it would be looking at a different space in that exact room where 18 is just about max. Yeah, because we have those three primary rooms are a little bit bigger, and they've measured them out for 20 based on the 6 foot. So we would be right there, but that's we've got to have the 2 adults in there. Anything over 8 students, you have to have the second adult, the paraprofessional in there. So we have to take that into account as well.
Hey, Dan, quick question. Where did you guys do pre-K screenings? Like, I'm just curious where the number is coming from.
Yeah, so that number came to me from Mrs. LeBaron, the elementary counselor. She does the pre-K enrollments, and they have done some screening, but very little has taken place. So I'm thinking that we'll have some late enrollments for that program because people had enrolling in pre-K was the least of people's concerns through all of this. And as we approach September and as people hear about our opening plan and actually hear that we're going to have pre-K, I fielded a couple of calls and inquiries on that. I think we'll see the enrollments go, and then the appropriate screening is going to have to take place. But we are definitely behind in screening.
So when do we have? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tom. It's the same topic. Go ahead.
So when do we need to know what we're doing here?
I would say as soon as possible. So publicly, I'll say it on the parent forums. I'll say it tonight. If people are looking for pre-K placement here at Fort Edward for their children this year, we need them to reach out as soon as they can by email or by telephone to the front office or to Mrs. LeBaron directly or to Mrs. Jones directly, just so we can get them on the list. And I know Mrs. Carpenter from the elementary office is on this call. I saw her when we started. She can be copied on those too, lcarpenter@fortedward.org. And that's a great question. I don't know if the packet is online or not. I'll ask somebody to see if it is. But we need to have those, at least if people are interested, need to get those packets back so we know, because if we have 11 students total, we need to have the conversation and let parents know ahead of time, hey, this isn't going to run. And we don't want to do that the Friday before Labor Day for people.
So basically it's 18 or none?
I don't want to say that, but if it's 8, that doesn't make any financial sense at all.
Correct. Right. Correct. So it was close to 18, I guess.
Right. We want to be as close as we can. And that we want to fill that section. If our social distance number is 17, we want to fill it. If it's 18, we want to fill it. If it's 16, we want to fill it. It's kind of like the
I do know we've talked about this before. Yeah, there are some people who register their kids a week into school. Obviously, we need to make a decision way before that. So it's pretty much anyone who's registered already. And then if we get a couple of people this week, I guess.
Yeah, so it would be a first come, first serve, which we have not traditionally turned any pre-Kers away, at least not in the time that I've been here. And I'm guessing prior to that, because it doesn't make any sense. They're just going to come to you the next year, maybe a little bit farther. They're definitely going to come to you the next year farther behind if you don't get them in that pre-K program.
Right.
But with one section in the morning, we're capped at the highest by regulation is 18, and I believe that our social distance number in that room is actually 18. So we're capped somewhere right there.
So pardon me if I'm being a little dense, but so we get 17 kids. We have room to house them. We have $80,000 from the state. Does that completely fund what we need to spend to have that class, or are we? Do we have money allocated? No. So it doesn't. So then what do we do?
So right now we built our budget with the salaries of people in there, including having somebody teach pre-K half a day. That's how we built our budget with the reductions.
Okay.
Obviously some reductions in the budget tonight.
So we've got half of that paid for already, and then that $80,000 takes care of the rest.
Yeah, in raw terms, yes. Yes. Penny for penny, might we need to put a little bit more in? Yes.
So there's no net gain at all either way.
There's definitely not a net gain. There could be a net cost. Yeah. You're not coming out in the green on pre-K. You weren't before.
Right. No, I get it. Well, now it's even worse because there's 20% coming off the top.
Right.
All right. You guys prepared to have that conversation now, or do you want to see what this week brings as far as registration goes?
I think we need to see what registration looks like.
I think we need to have a hard deadline, like a hard deadline. Like if you want your child to enroll, we need to have a hard deadline so that we can make these decisions. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but really, like this is a big decision.
Yeah.
And you have to give teachers 30-day notice, don't you, Dan? Or will they be on the books and we'll be paying for them without any revenue?
No, so that's not my understanding, Sean, because many teachers received layoff notices back in May, and the clock starts ticking for me to give them final answers on their positions after a budget passes. So the clock is ticking against me, but it's been an extended period of time because of the budget failing once and then failing twice.
Okay, so you're already covered.
I believe I am. The Teachers Association might believe something different, but the next person that I would have to lay off in the elementary teacher tenure area received a previous notification from me that they might be reduced, and has since received a notification from me verbally and a telephone call that they might be reduced because of pre-K.
Okay.
Okay. We got a soft notice out there, but I do agree with Anita that we need some kind of a hard deadline. And how would we communicate that deadline? Would be through our website and our social media.
Yep.
Anybody else have any feedback on that?
So I'm going to recommend.
Could you also do like a robocall to residents? That might help as well.
Yeah, so I don't have a call list for residents, but I have the caller list that I have.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. School. Yeah,
yeah.
And I would say if you know somebody who might have a pre-K, or please reach out to your friends and tell them. And I would suggest that our deadline be next Tuesday, because I'm going to be suggesting that we have a meeting next Thursday. And that way we can have that conversation that evening, if that works for people. And I'll get something out tomorrow on social media and website, and get a telephone call done by tomorrow or the next day saying, hey, folks, we need to know. We have to make a big decision on this. And if we don't have enough interest, we really can't run it.
Yeah, it gives them a week. I agree. Anybody else have any feedback on that?
James, are you good? Oh, Dan, go ahead, Dan.
Can we give it to the end of the month?
That's at the board.
I don't know if that works. Yeah.
Legally, yes. You're just going to tell people later that there isn't a placement for their kids, right? But I guess people would kind of be on notice as we tell people now that we're thinking about having to make this decision. Same thing with any employees. They would be finding out at the end of the month, which is closer to when they thought they were coming back. But in the end, it provides more time for us to get an affirmative from people.
Yeah, it's not really going to change.
It just means we'd have to have another meeting before the end of the month. And I'm trying to, I just got to look at the calendar quick. Sorry.
Did you put it down for next week? What's next Thursday?
27th.
I mean, that's
27th is
already the end of the month, right? Like that's the end of the month.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be a good, if we were going to give it to the end of the month, wouldn't that be a good day to set it for if we're going to be having the meeting? I mean, that still gives a little bit of time. My concern with setting a deadline later is more, these parents are going to go out and they're going to get their kids' school supplies. They're going to, spend however much money they feel like they need to spend on this. And the faculty, the teachers are getting ready to teach this and they're putting time and effort into it. And I'm afraid for waiting too long.
Well,
right. I just want to give it as much time as possible.
I mean,
we're already at the end of the month, pretty much. We're going to get down to the last minute.
Maybe the 20, want to split the difference and maybe say the 27th is the night of our meeting. Really, you guys could take action in September, or we could have a special meeting if I could provide what information I have on the 27th, and you guys could have that to chew on at that point to make a decision. But people are going to know when we get off tonight that there's a concern about pre-K.
Yeah, the 31st is a Monday. That's the end of the month. I don't know how more time is going to help people get the message because you're going to put it out tomorrow, and you're going to put it out there. We're going to talk to people. I don't know. We have a meeting on the 14th. What's the day that school starts? Is it the the 10th?
So we're trying to have students come back on the 10th. There's an action item a little bit later. That's a change from the original calendar, right?
Right.
Just make sure that I got that.
I want to talk about that too.
So I know, Dan, maybe we split the difference. The 27th is a Thursday. It's a week and 2 days as opposed to a week and 4 days. And at least if
it's basically at the end of the month, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that gives people 2 weeks to make a decision, right? So if we know by the 27th, we make a decision on the 27th, then that gives people 2 full weeks before school starts to make, I don't know, some of them might have to, get daycare taken care of for a kid that they thought it might have been in pre-K, or maybe try to get into another program. I don't even know if it's too late for them to do it even at this point. But I just think notifying them earlier that we're having it or not having it seems a little better. So do we have to take a vote or what do you guys want to do?
Direction. So I'm going to set it for the 27th. Is that what I think that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I think that makes the most sense. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Moving on is the next item on there. Tom.
Hey, well, I'm sorry. One more question, Dan, on that, because I didn't hear in the beginning. Maybe you did say it. It's guaranteed, right? Because I knew before the pre-K money was up in the air. Now they've designated that we will absolutely get it. We'll just get 20% less.
At least 20% less, and it's dictated by the number of children that you serve. But it's always dictated by the number of children you serve.
No, I get it, but I know before it was you might not even get it, and then if they told you to do pre-K, they might hold it back from you mid-year so that it was your fault for not having pre-K, not the state's. Now they're saying, yeah, if you have the numbers you need, we're going to give you 20% or maybe more or less, but you're going to get that money.
Right. You're going to get some money for pre-K. That's the latest and greatest. Not that I won't tell you that things can't change, because things can always change. But we're operating with the info that we have right now, and that's what we have.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So 27 is the date.
Yep.
Yes.
27th is the date.
Again, remember, we got to give teachers prep time too here, because if we're not going to have somebody they need to know, we got to keep them informed as soon as we can. But on that same note, I want to ask a question. With the budgets going down and staffing changes and the juggling what's going on in the building, my question is those who are in the building and who know they're coming back, have they been notified of their new changes, the new assignments, and has there been discussion with them? Is there agreement? Everybody's all on the same page?
So I'm gonna say yes, although I still have to. We have a situation where the least senior person is in the elementary tenure area, is certified as an elementary teacher, but they are not certified as a primary elementary teacher. So there is still one position that I need to inform somebody, but it's a position that we're currently talking about that might be cut. So I wanted to have the pre-K conversation tonight first.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's conversations going on and people are aware.
Yep, everybody else who is changing grade levels or changing assignments has been informed. I had conversations with people last week and had a couple over the weekend as well, Saturday to be specific. But there's still one moving piece is pre-K.
Okay.
Besides that, things are as solid as they're going to be.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. All right. You good, Dan?
Yeah, I am.
On your superintendent report? Okay. Next up is treasurer report. It was included in our inboard packet. Todd, did you want to speak to that? Did you have questions for that?
I did have one question where the post-star was 37,000. I didn't know if that was an error or if I can, Charlene can explain why the post-star was paid the 37,000 last month.
Certainly wasn't to keep my name out of the paper.
I think Mr. Goot's on there. I don't know. I'm guessing that's. I'm going to look at that document.
It's on the second page. Second page, second one down.
Yeah, we didn't have an expenditure with the post-R for $37,000 that I'm aware of.
Were we using them for job as opposed to that other?
Yeah, but you said $37,000, right?
I believe James saw it too, I guess. Good, thanks.
Yeah, we did not have an expenditure for $37,000 to the post-R.
Okay, if you can look into that, it'd be great. You don't have to talk much more about it. Thanks.
Anybody have anything else on the treasurer report? We do have Charlene online.
That was my only.
We'll get back to you on that.
Okay. So Karen and Sam aren't with us this evening. Did they pass along anything, Dan, that they wanted to?
Everything is reopening plan. In your board packets. So aside from that, in your board packets, you saw the elementary student handbook and you saw the CSE recommendations. Both of those were from Karen, but everything's about reopening and staffing right now. So that's what we're up to. And I think I saw Craig's phone number came up. I believe he's on there because he was for the buildings and grounds report. Craig, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thanks for all the work you guys are doing. I appreciate it. You got anything you wanted to say for your portion of the report?
Yes, the school is completely clean. All the classrooms are clean, waxed. All the hallway floors are ready for opening. My staff and I, like Mr. Ward has said, we've been setting up classrooms for social distancing, and we should be ready to open classrooms completed by the end of August. The school is pretty well much set with supplies needed for the cleaning and disinfectant per the COVID recommendations by Department of Health and SED. Like Mr. Ward said, we purchased the 2 industrial fogging machines to disinfect all large areas in a more speedy manner, which would include classrooms, offices, and bathrooms with a short staff, but it also reduces the time spent. I mean, there's a 2-part process to this thing, which is you initially have to clean, and then the disinfecting is the last part when you're exiting the room. So that, upon everything else that has to, be done throughout the day, throughout the building as people are in the building. And the last thing on my report is I successfully completed and obtained my Class B driver's license.
Awesome. Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that why that bollard in front of the school is bent? Is that your first run? Thanks, Craig. Okay, so any questions for Craig? Okay, discussion items. Dan, I think we talked about the school reopening. Anything to add?
Tom, before you go to that, can I say something about another item that Mr. Ward just talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, which was the code of conduct. This goes back to the elementary report. So the code of conduct that was presented to us and there was no changes to it, right? Because usually you code it with yellow and all that kind of stuff. So all it was is just reapproved. Am I correct?
Yeah, so the code of conduct, which is a document that looks more like a policy, yes, that came back through. The changes that were made in the handbook, in the high school handbook. One of the change that I can recall offhand was about the leaving a team, the language in the leaving of a team, or some people call it quitting a team. There was some change to the language in there. But yeah, the code of conduct is the same document.
For the elementary. Yeah, you know what would be nice though, Dan, is that, I did look through the document again, is that at the end of that document, if we could just log in and record, it was reapproved on August 17th, 2020, when it was revised. I don't know, again, where you keep track of that, but it would be nice if that was just attached to that document as an ongoing thing so that community members know that we are looking at it. I know they can go back to the board minutes and look at it, but it's nice if it's part of that document. Just a suggestion. On that.
Normally we would change the revised date. We just haven't gotten there yet.
But okay, so the other thing is that, again, make sure that's updated on the website. The website does have it on 2017-18 right now on the code of conduct. So just to make sure that that's been changed there as well, even though it's probably the same, maybe same document.
Got it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. All right. Let's see. So discussion items. School reopening. You said you want to speak to something additional on that, right, Dan?
I just wanted to leave it there in case there was more, but we kind of discussed it, I think. Or if you guys have more that you'd like to speak about on that, we certainly can. It's your meeting. I just put it down there in case you had more to say.
Okay. I see later on the motion for the data change. Is that going to affect the reopening as well?
Yeah. So you're talking about the school calendar, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know Dan said he had something to say about that. But
yeah, that's discussion item B anyways. Can we complete?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Yeah, I'm looking at school reopening, but okay. So let's move to that then. School calendar revision.
Yeah.
No, Tom, can we have a discussion on the school reopening first?
Whatever. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I was going to bring it up earlier, but I knew it was in the agenda to do it now instead. So I kind of just was patient and held off. But my one question, and again, I did go back and watch the reopening plan that was presented already, and I did read the 39-page document that was there. But my one concern, and again, if you don't want to answer it now, that's fine as well. I can ask it as a community member tomorrow at noon or whenever the next session is. But, I just have a question, just a general question. It doesn't take a big answer, a long answer on this, is the grading piece. As important that is in terms of especially high school students moving on to college and things of that sort. Last year, the grading policy was a little unclear to me, as some teachers were giving passes, fails, some of them were getting grades. I know a lot of the reopening plans are establishing, okay, we're going to go from 0 to 100. Everyone's being graded regardless of your remote or hybrid or whatever you're doing. So can you maybe discuss a little bit about what our plan is in terms of the grading of students within our district?
Yeah. So, give me just 1 second. I'll share it with everybody, because the short answer is that the appendix speaks to grading, and what it says is that elementary students will have standards-based report cards, and that the 6 through 12 will have regular number grading, traditional number grading is what it says. So here's, I'll read it right off of there, and actually I can share my screen. I'll stop sharing whatever I've got on there now because I forgot what it was. And I'll share this with everybody. And it should be popping up for you. And so if you can see that highlighted in blue, yes, you can. Standards-based framework in the elementary grades designed to provide feedback. They've been used in standards-based report cards. And then for the high school, it's traditional numerical grading will occur in grades 6 through 12. You're muted, Todd.
Okay, sorry about that. So no pass fails.
Right. Not at this time. The document is a living document. If the world changes, we're going to have to pivot, right? And but right now we're saying no. It's going to be traditional numerical grading in the 6 through 12.
Okay.
And the attendance is required and all that stuff, so that's a little bit different than it was too. Dan, you had mentioned earlier today that, was it 70 folks had opted to do complete remote learning? Is that right?
Yeah. So we were over. Let me do this. Stop sharing. We were in excess of 70 as of this morning, and let me just take a quick look here. So where the number stays the same for me right now. Let me just see if I refresh this sheet, if it'll tell me something different. Yeah, as of right now, we are at 71 students asking for the remote only option for at least the first 10 weeks. And that's across all grade levels.
Wow.
So they're,
again, just to read that doesn't affect our aid at all because they're still considered students.
They're bona fide students, and also want to put out there that Mr. Ratty and I spoke earlier today, and as we get closer to students coming back, we do want to have a meeting like this, a Google Meet, with parents of students who have chosen that as their option, so we can talk about expectations and answer any questions that there might be about that option. So that'll be another piece of reach out that we do to try to speak with people about it, and to make it as smooth as possible. And I'll say it again, it will not be perfect, but we will do our best to make it as best we can as we roll it out.
Right. Wow. Anything else on the reopening, guys, before we move to the calendar?
Yeah, I appreciate all the work that went into your the plan to not even not having some of the staff here, such as even a nurse on site, to be able to work through all that. And I know that each plan is unique to each district. So I know there was an enormous amount of work that had to go into coming up with that plan. So I thank you.
Yep, no, thanks, Ted.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there were, I think I read a news report not too long ago that only 1 in 7 schools actually submitted them on time, correct?
Yeah,
So
there was some talk about whether or not that data from the governor was accurate. Either way, whether his document was accurate or not, we were not listed on the list of people who didn't submit it. Right. For certain, I have the backup that shows that we did.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So school calendar revision is the next up, and I know Dan had a question about that, didn't you?
Yeah. Do you think one day is enough, or do you need the rest of the week?
That's a great question, Dan. And so in the conversations that we've had so far, with the way that the plan is, we're looking at least that one day. Although we are concerned about the possibility of needing more time.
Okay.
Would there be a reason, Dan, not to take one of the other ones? So in our school calendar, which is attached to the elementary code of conduct, there was 4 staff days, 180 student days and 4 staff days. So 2 of the staff days are being used currently, you're saying, before the school year starts, and then 2 of the others will occur at a different time. Am I correct?
That's how it's recommended to be scheduled tonight. But
Okay.
there are some schools who are pushing all 4 to the front. 2, I say 2 is you haven't approved it yet, but those 2 are the bare minimum to try to make this operate with organization when the kids come back on the first day. That being said, I am certainly open to a conversation starting from your end about, do we need another day? But I'm also cognizant that our community is looking for their children to be back in school. You folks are in the community. If you think that our community would understand that we need to have those 3 days to make this work to the best interest of all children and all staff that work here, then let's have that conversation.
Let's have it, because I've heard, I've heard from a lot of folks that don't even understand why we bother starting school on a Thursday when what are they going to get done for those 2 days? And I know some parents who keep their kids home until the next week. So as far as the importance of those 2 days, in these circumstances, I think there may be some, I don't know why we're going to need those 2 days if it's going to cause us to start a little earlier than we should under these circumstances. So I would be in favor of waiting until the following Monday, but I would need to hear from some other folks on this board.
I agree.
We're trying to do more with less.
agree.
So,
I agree. We want to make sure that this is laid out
yep.
well for both the faculty and the kids. Start them off on Monday. You got the full complete week, right from the get. So we need to do run throughs. We got to make sure everything's going to work right. Temperature checks, the whole thing.
Right.
So we need time.
I agree.
That does mean that we're utilizing all of those superintendent days then, like other schools are doing in the beginning, correct?
So it's important.
My question then, Dan, is how does, and again, I should know this answer, but I'm going to ask it because I don't really, is that out of the 180 days, does the superintendent days, are they used as snow days? Because in terms of aid, and the students have to go the 180 days according to the state regulations. So if you use all the 4 days and had like 3 or 4 snow days, how does all that work? Does that come into play with the superintendent days?
Yes. So if you look at, and I know you said the calendar's attached, you guys don't have it in front of you, but I do. That 184 at the bottom basically gives us 4 snow days, because those superintendent's conference days count as pupil attendance days.
Right.
They count. And that's me saying it the most basic way I can say it.
And
So
aren't they, doesn't the state now go by like, it's hourly increments, isn't it? Instead of half days or full days at this point?
you still, you have to have a certain number of hours per year. The 900
And per month, yeah.
It's like 900 and 990 are the two. And the concern that we have is right now, the state hasn't provided any relief on the hour requirements. They haven't said yet whether or not the remote only instruction, if we were to have to go to a remote only, as you may have heard, Boston Spa did so. They announced just a couple of days ago. We haven't been told by the state of New York if those count as attendance days yet. Certainly, I'm assuming that Boston Spa is saying that, boy, I think the state's going to count those as attendance days. But yeah, you're right. But you still have to have the number of days. You have to meet the days and the hours, Christina. So you can't be, if you're at 177 days at the end, unless there's some sort of flexibility given by the state at a later date. We got to get the days in, even though we don't have to have a certain number of hours each day, as long as we meet that minimum number of hours for the year.
Right.
So that would be more of a reason to maybe start school on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I tell you, I was glad to hear the board. It sounded like there was a consensus. It sounded like it was unanimous, but that we're talking about committing those 4 days to making this process work. It takes a little bit of
I think it makes more sense.
of pressure off and trying to get everything we need to do done in 2 days with less staff members than we've ever had. Probably less staff than you've had here in the last 10 years.
This is an unprecedented situation all around with like the less staff, the COVID situation. Like we need as much time as possible.
Yep.
That is very apparent.
Okay.
So the question I have then is, how do you then get those days back? Do you then have to readjust the calendar and ask somebody to take a day from their vacation? Is that what you'd have to get into? So you have to think about not just short term, what's going on in September, but what's going to happen.
I think they're just not going to do the superintendent's conference days during the year. They're going to front load them.
Right,
So
we're
those
using
would
them
be
all up now.
instructional
We're using
days
them
during the
today.
school year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Christina. So we just wouldn't have any superintendent's conference days for the rest of the year. That is what would happen. We would move the 19th of March, the 29th of January, and the 3rd of November all to September. So that would be the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September. And either way, the Washington County Collaborative Professional Development Day is already off. So we weren't going to have that big event on November 3rd anyways, because different schools are taking those days away to use for, I'll call it, COVID reentry education for staff, faculty and staff.
Yeah, no, that makes the most sense, I think.
I'm happy you guys can we can amend that as we get there.
Yeah.
When we get down to the motion.
Yeah, that'll mean you're going to have to use faculty meetings are going to be much more important now than before, because you're going to have to recalibrate, especially after 10 weeks, especially after. So that time will be have to taken there instead of taking a day midstream to reconfigure what's going on and make sure everything's okay. I mean, I have a problem with the 4. I just want to make sure that we've got time set aside so we can have those meetings with the teachers and students and get everything straightened away.
And I'll comment back. So I'm also hopeful that if things don't go exactly as we'd all hope they'd go, I'm hoping that there would be some flexibility later on to have something called a reopening day. If something really crazy happens in the world and we're out of school for a period of time again, and we've used up all these days, we're going to have to ask, our state leaders to provide us with some flexibility to do some of that, like you're talking about, James. I know you might be talking about some of the smaller things. Yeah, we're going to have to do that in the faculty meeting.
Right, but I'm talking about other things too.
Yeah.
Because this could happen. We may have to, the whole thing may have to change. You may have to sit down. So I don't want to cook them all. I'd like to have one in my back pocket.
Right.
Well, that comes down to lobbying too, though, for that understanding. If this is gonna change significantly at some point in the year, you're right. We're gonna have to lobby the state for some type of taking that 180 down to 179, or whatever the case may be. Or whatever they have to do to give us forgiveness for those days, because we're going to need to reevaluate and reanalyze, especially being short-staffed as we are. It's not going to be as easy as just opening the doors after some major change and just having people come back. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We're also not going to be the only school in that situation.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Anita. It's going to be like kind of an all-in situation with different regions or the whole state or whatever. So it's not going to be just our district.
There has to be understanding.
Yep.
You guys are giving legislators a lot of credit. I'm not so sure.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, James. Kind of keep one in the pocket, but then that would put us started on Friday, and that's
argue both ways. I can see both.
Yeah. All right, so are we good with starting on Monday, the whatever date that is?
14th.
Yes.
It's 14th. Same day of our meeting as well, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll make the official vote when it comes down to it. I'll amend it, and we'll get that vote when we get to. Anything else on the school calendar revision before we move on? Okay, board retreat is scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30, I believe. Correct?
Yep, and I just that's in person. I know there's a couple folks that can't make it. But we're doing that in person, and I'm just going to ask you to use the back door by the football field. There's a sign out there that says superintendent's parking. Not necessarily will my vehicle be there because I'm following the same rules as everybody else and parking out front and coming through. So unless I'm coming back in the evening, my car won't be there. But I'll have it unlocked so you guys can get in. But we will be on, we'll be in the boardroom doing one of our parent reopening Q&A forums. So I just have to ask you to hang out. We'll be off as soon as we can from that. But that's a great place where Mrs. Jones, Mr. Ray, can all be in the same room. And if I can find a different place for us to be and you guys can get up there, I'll do so. But if you come in the back door, that would be helpful for me.
Okay.
Do we have a number on everybody that's going to be there?
So right now, I have 7 out of 9.
I have a work thing tomorrow. I will try to stop by on the way home, unless we can push it back. But
You want to make it a little later, guys and gals?
Well, if you have the
Wanna do
opening plan,
6 or does 6 help, Dan?
Say it again, Tom.
Well, your opening video ends at 5:30, roughly, correct?
Well, we'll see. The last one went an hour and 20 minutes. So if the board is okay with it, 6 o'clock actually works better for me. But I didn't want to go against what we had already scheduled. But I also don't want to cut our community short. So that would give me an hour and a half to do that with Mrs. Jones and Mr. Addy.
And Dan, what time works for you?
So I mean, 6 o'clock would be better.
Dan Shields.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
Does 6 work better?
it would. Yep.
Okay. Let's
We want you there.
Is it okay with everyone else? We'll move to 6?
Good.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
I said that I would buy dinner, but I need to know what you guys want, and then I need to ask for some help with somebody to actually pick up whatever we're getting, because I'll be on the parent forum.
I'll pick it up, Dan. We can send email what everybody wants. I thought you were cooking, though. I'm a little disappointed.
Steak, right? No?
It would look like Rachel Ray. I'll be on TV doing the parent forum and cooking up a meal for you folks.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
But if you guys can
All right,
say,
so yeah, we can email for you.
we're going to email Tom what you might want for dinner, and I will
Cool.
pay for it if I can get some help picking it up. All right, sounds good.
I'll grab it.
Thank you.
Take it down.
All right, so let's see. So special meeting date. So we're talking about the 27th at 5:30 for the special meeting date.
As long as 5:30 worked for you folks, that's what I had put on there to recommend.
And that's going to be for discussion regarding pre-K, among some other things, right? Positions and things like that.
Correct. Appointment of specific individuals.
Right.
Science
All right, so
teachers,
it's a pretty,
education.
yeah, that's a big one. Does 5:30 work for everyone?
Yep.
All right, so Thursday, August 27th at 5:30. Joe, welcome.
Hello, thank
Joe
you.
Carroll is officially here.
How's it going?
Fantastic.
Great.
Hi, Joe.
All right, so any other discussions on discussion items? Okay. All right, let's go down to the consent agenda. I am going to put these together, so I need a motion for consent agenda items A through C.
Motion.
Motion.
Anita? Is that
Motion.
Chris?
Yep.
You're gonna look into that one.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, the treasurer
Todd, which document was that on? I don't have them right in front of me.
I think
The treasurer's report.
treasurer's report. Yes.
So then probably they would want
We're amending it though, right?
I think we
Are we
probably
looking at that?
let's table. It was actually the treasurer's report document. Then I would suggest that you table that one until you have a clean document that you guys can support and have the answer to that question. Unless Charlene's got something to share right now, I say we put that on to next month, or to the 27th. Right, it's only a week.
Yes, thank you.
So how about,
Just one quick thing, man. I'm going to amend the motions. Just 1 second while we're in discussion. Where is that on the report? Because I still haven't found it.
If you look on the warrant, Tom, second page from the warrants, on the second page, second one down.
All right, so we're talking about the warrants, and we're not talking about the treasurer's report.
Right, we're talking about the warrants.
All
So
right.
which isn't on here.
So, right. So, okay. So I'm all right. I knew I didn't see it there. So then we're tabling the warrants.
Yeah. So that would be,
okay, so we're going
letter
to
B.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. All right. So we're going to table B. So I need a motion to approve A and C. I had two motions, but I need two new motions.
Tom, two minor ones from the minutes from last month. Just a couple typos. I want to straighten these out.
Go ahead.
On the second page, annual appointments. You got an F. You got a motion made by someone who's not on the board. Anita Daniel Shields. I'm not sure who that is, but it's a conglomeration. But I think we want to make just one clear.
That's a pretty great name.
Toby, are you?
Just make that clear. Just to give Toby a couple jabs.
Toby's got that.
All right, there's one more.
It was for under, what was it under?
Under the annual appointment for the second page. F.
Okay.
And then one more under the high school principal report. Tom might take offense. I realize COVID-19's hit us and everyone's put some weight on, but you got Mr. Roach in a plural. He may be a little bigger, but I don't know if he's doubled, but
Close
I'm
to
just
it.
thinking of Tom.
Close to it.
I'm just thinking of you, Tom. Everything else is fine, Tob. I'm just
My multiple personalities. Yeah. So you know what? Rather than do this chop meat, can we table this to next month so everything gets straightened out?
So
we
I
got
just
two motions.
Hold on. I want to make sure that Charlene doesn't need the treasurer's report for June approved tonight for auditing purposes. Charlene, are you okay if this all waits till the 27th?
I don't see anything wrong with my treasurer's report.
Well, that's true too. So if you want, then we'll just table A and B then. Because the error that the post-star thing is not on the treasurer's report; it's on the warrants. Unless you see something
Well, it may
different.
not be an error. We just don't know what it is.
Yep.
Where would that fall then, Charlene? How does that relate to the treasurer's report if we're seeing a warrants and claims for $37,000 on? It doesn't.
The treasurer's
relate?
report is from June, and that warrant is from last week.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're not
so,
directly connected.
No relation. Yeah.
All right. Did you have any other questions on the treasurer's report, Todd?
No, but I don't know if it's time to bring this up now or later, but Charlene, I've asked this question, many times, is that looking at last year's, and again, I don't know when the best time would be, is when the books are closed up from last year's financials in terms of what was remaining at the end. And maybe there's still some bills coming in and we're still paying for some bills, but at some point, I would like to know the number of what was left over from last year's budget that was carried over into this year. I see a number of like 900,000 when I go through it, but I don't know, again, based on where it is now and what still has to be paid.
Right. Right now, I'm finishing up my audit for Boquet Valley, and then I will be working on Fort Edwards. We are working with the accountants and uploading what we have ready. So they have the June treasurer's report, the June reports. So as soon as we get all the year-end journal entries posted, this is my first year closing your books. So please be patient with me, but you will have your audited financial statements. You will have your fund balance. Right now, that's why you don't have your July reports, because we're focusing on the audits and the auditors and the adjusting entries. So, but you will have that number, yes.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I have, and this more has to do with, I know the athletics and extracurricular activities, and some of the support that's going out in the community to try to raise some funds to make sure that the kids don't go without. Our extra classroom bank account sitting at $55,000. Is there any way that you can tap into those funds to be used for this year under these circumstances? I'm just wondering. No?
Belong to the club. They belong to students, and no board member, no administrator, no management can touch those funds or tell those kids how to spend them.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it's nice that when somebody hears those numbers. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, so let's see if we can make some sense out of this motion. We are definitely going to table A and B, but I don't see any reason to table C. So can we vote to table A and B? All in favor of tabling A and B?
Gotta get a motion.
I need a motion to table A and B. All right, Dan. Who else?
Chris and Dan.
Chris and Dan, I'm sorry, I only had one. Okay. Chris and Dan, any discussion? All in favor of tabling A and B?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good.
And
Okay.
we're at
Now we
9.
need a motion to approve. Yes, we're good. We need a motion to, I need a motion for the approval of the Treasurer's Report for June 2020. I had to, but since we're doing it all over. Anita, Chris, same two originally. Yeah, exactly. All in favor of approving the Treasurer's Report for June 2020?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All good? All right. We're all good. Okay, 9-0 on the approval, Dan. Okay. Gosh, that was rough. Okay. Action items. I don't think I could lump these together. I need a motion to approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as included in the board packets.
Motion.
Chris,
Seconded, Todd.
Second.
Todd, I saw his hand first. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, so moved. All right, action item B. I need a motion to pass a resolution to confirm the 2020 school tax rolls, dates, and authorize the tax levy rate at 29.276758.
So move.
Motion.
James and Anita, any discussion?
Just one thing that I want to get out there publicly that the board is aware of, and some of the public is aware of, but our tax collecting entity this year is the Washington County Treasurer's Office. All bills must be paid there. All checks must be mailed there. That information will be on people's bills when they come out. But those of you who, anybody who's on the call tonight or any board members, people may be asking, what's that? That's a move because we have less staff here in this building to coordinate all the deposits with Glens Falls National Bank, because all they were doing was taking the money and holding it, and then all the paperwork had to be done, or the majority of the paperwork had to be done by business office staff right here in Fort Edward or up at the FEH BOCES, and we could not manage it with the reductions we've had to staffing. So the good piece is we're very close to the county building, but there are a few Washington County districts right now that are used in the county as their tax collecting agency. They'll make deposits for us daily and provide reconciliation reports to Charlene and I on a daily basis. I also talked with Al Nolet about possibly coming to the October board meeting just to talk with the board about the process and how it's going in year one. So I plan to schedule him unless you guys say you don't want me to have Al come for 5 minutes and talk about it.
That's fine.
Sounds
Bring him
good.
in.
Bring him in. Okay.
I interrupted you. You still got to vote.
Yeah, I still need a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so everyone. Any noes? Any abstaining? Okay, thank you. So moved. Okay, I need a motion to approve the school calendar to amend it as followed. Move the January, November, and March superintendent's conference days to Wednesday, September 9th, Thursday, September 10th, and Friday, September 11th.
Yep,
Motion.
so just going to reword it a tiny
Dan?
bit. I want to move, so this motion to approve the school calendar be amended as follows. Move all superintendent's conference days to Wednesday, September 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
That's the motion.
Dan's got the motion on that. I need a second.
Second.
Anita, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
Aye. I don't trust the legislators. I don't think all schools are doing that, but anyway, that's okay.
All right, so James got a no. We got one no. Yeah.
Who made the motion?
The original motion was Dan Shields.
Dan and then me.
And then Anita.
Okay.
Okay.
And we got
So we got 8 to 1
0.
unless there's an abstention. 8-1. Okay, 8-1. So move.
8-1.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the Wish-We-Sees to enter into contract with the consulting firm of Costello and Silky for the purpose of conducting a full annexation study as required by the New York State Education Department for the possible annexation of the Fort Edward Union Free School District into the South Glens Falls Central School District. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Chris, Joe, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I see Christina, I see Anita, Joe, I see Chris. Okay, those are the,
Anybody?
so I'm a yes. So any no, any opposed?
Yes, one here.
Todd? One no on Todd. Any abstaining? Okay, so then as I read it, it's 8-1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I have.
All right, so moved. Okay. All right. That's it for that portion. Personnel. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fort Edward Union Free School District hereby abolishes the following positions the following 10 years effective August 31st, 2020. Superintendent is directed to notify the affected staff members of this action. As listed, folks. I need a motion.
Are you, Tom, I don't know, do
You want me to list them?
Yes, I would say that for the public, yes.
If you want, okay. So 1 4th grade teacher from the elementary teacher tenure area. 2 10-month building principals from the building principal tenure area. 1.9 FTE school counselor from the school counselor tenure area. 1.5 teaching assistant from the teaching assistant tenure area. 1.5 health teacher from the health tenure area. And 1.5 music teacher from the music teacher tenure area. Need a motion.
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 Anita, Chris. Any discussion? Okay.
I mean, I think it
Okay,
needs
but
to be
all-
said that we're not happy that we have to do this. This is not something that we wanted to set out to do. This is not something that we're all jumping for joy with. This is hard. This is hard, and I think that needs to be recognized.
No, absolutely. It's a great point, Anita. I hope folks know that as well. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Todd, James,
Aye.
Chris, Joe. Okay. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Christina is abstaining. Okay, so it's 8-0-1. So moved. Okay. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the Fort Edward Union Free School District hereby creates the following positions in the following tenure areas effective September 1st, 2020. The superintendent is directed to notify the individuals from the preferred eligibility list from any abolished positions within this tenure area. 1, 12-month pre-K to 12 building principal in the building principal tenure area. 1.8 school counselor from the school counselor tenure area. And 2 part-time cafeteria food service aides. Need a motion.
So moved.
Motion.
James. Dan. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? So moved. Okay, so, yeah.
Tom, before we go, can I ask one question? Previous meeting, Dan, we appointed someone who's retired. We did some extracurricular activities. Do we have to make a resolution at some point to rescind those bodies who won't be here to fill those positions that we had appointed?
Yes, we do, but I'm not following who you're exactly talking about. But if you wanna, I can look. It was the last meeting, James, we appointed somebody.
Yeah. I think a couple there.
All right, I'll take a
talking about
look. Yes, we
individuals.
should.
Yeah, one switch schools.
Yeah, before we go to the second public comment, I just want to thank a couple of people. Carrie Traskos, Michelle Taylor, Mr. Surdy, and Mr. Tully, and a bunch of other people, Marie Carter, and a lot of people that attended the Families for Fort Edward meeting 2 Thursdays. I couldn't make this most recent one, but I did get to the first one. There seems to be a lot of folks out there who are committed to trying to raise money, and I see a bunch of people have contributed already. And they're selling shirts and things like that. So I just want to thank everyone who stepped up and showed up at those 2 meetings and those folks that are organizing that stuff. I know Carrie put out a bunch of stuff regarding committees and things like that over the weekend. So she's putting a lot of effort into it. So thank you to everyone who's organizing, who's showing up, who's contributing to their efforts. I applaud you all. So thank you. And this is our second community comments. Toby, I see something in the comments, but did you get anything outside of that?
No, I just see the comment. Amanda Durkee.
Okay, so I think, is it Miss Durkee? Okay.
Meeting time.
Let's see who it was. Yep, it's Miss Durkee. Miss Durkee, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
What's that?
Can you hear me okay, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of technical issues tonight, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. Good evening. If Mr. Goop or anyone else from the Post-Star is here on this meeting, I would like to request that you not use my information or my story in your article. I would ask for the next couple of minutes that you respect the fact that these things are raw and personal. I understand that I'm sharing in a public forum, but if possible, please just be present with a district and community that is really struggling. I get it. Everyone has their own story and reasons for making the choices that they have made throughout this budget process. I am not here to say that our story is any better or worse than anyone else's. It is just that. Our story, our circumstances, our current situation, which is truly unique. My husband, Jeff, son, Grayson, and I have really hit the trifecta with this contingency budget. First, Jeff has been cut from the Fort Edward teaching staff. At this time, it is at 0.5. But due to the lack of funding and the pre-K issues and the numbers, that's Jeff that you're talking about for the next 0.5 to go, it is very likely that he will be reduced completely. Second, our son will be attending school in a district that has gutted its teaching staff in the middle of a pandemic. And third, we now have to pay the taxes for this district and community that has successfully stripped us of our purpose and direction. We are Fort Edward is a statement that we have said time and time again with passion and conviction. Now I tell you this. We were Fort Edward. We are now angry, lost, reeling, and slightly broken. Back at the March 9th Board of Ed meeting, I stated toward the end of my public statements about the school that I still feel very strongly that we too can survive. I have not given up hope. Today, I can tell you that these last 4 months have dulled that hope for this district and community. I have openly shared my thoughts and opinions throughout the years with the Board of Education. I keep showing up. And I have a lot of thoughts and comments about the history of what has happened with the district, the annexation, the unexplored and under-discussed option of centralization, the decisions that were made about where to make cuts to reach a balanced budget, and how tight our alliance already is with South Glens Falls. However, none of it matters. And I don't think anyone truly cares or wants to hear from me. So therefore, I will not go further with any of that. I guess when you lose your direction, your purpose, and your hope, you lose a bit of fight and assertiveness as well. As I wrap this up, a simple thank you for your comments will suffice. We do not want sympathy, apologies, nor explanations. We simply want people aware of how their actions and choices have impacted one family in this community. As always, I thank you for your time, and I say Godspeed to everyone as we continue through this pandemic.
Thank you, Amanda. We do appreciate all the time you put into this, and obviously we are sorry how it affects everyone, and your family especially. Toby, are there any other comments?
No, there's none on the list here.
Okay. I know, I think Todd answered the question about the time. So, Dan, anything else before we go into exec?
Yeah, just quickly before we go in, on the last motion, Christina, I just want to make sure the notes are right. So the motion on the creation of those positions, your connection dropped and you weren't able to vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we just wanted to get that to, so it would be 8 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
No, and 1.
And just show that Christina was, Toby, if you could show she was momentarily out of the meeting, just so that everything is correct. That's all I had, Tom.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I need a motion to enter into executive session, discuss matters referring to the employment of specific individuals and corporations. Chris, Anita, Board of Education members and other individuals invited into executive session are reminded all matters discussed during executive session must be kept in the strictest confidence. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks unanimous to me. Okay. All right, folks. Dan will send us a link, and we will move to the other link. Folks in the public, do not think we're taking any action at all when we get back. But we will be back on this link as soon as we're done in exec. You could stop the recording, right, Dan?
Yeah, I will stop the recording. Charlene, can you jump into executive session just for a few minutes at the beginning, please? I'll send you the link.
All right.
So we're just gonna wait for everybody to come back in. So, but I did restart the recording, so the end of the meeting is captured. Just give it a minute. And let's see. I see Anita, Christina, Chris. There's Ella, James. So I'm waiting on Joe and Dan.
No, Todd's right.
Joe, yeah, they were both in the executive session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give them another minute. If James Donahue can get back over here.
Listen, pal, I've been on top of it. The first week was a little rough, but
All you just have to do is hang up and then open a new window.
now I'm right on. Now I'm right on.
He's using 10 computers at his house. He's got three.
Nine of
He's got three.
Nine got games on them. Baseball games all over.
All right, so we've got 7 that made it back over. Bonnie, go give him one more minute.
Dan had just texted me and asked me if I had an invite, but I told him to just use the old one. I don't know if he's having trouble.
There's
Yeah,
Joe.
I got mine from the calendar. That's how I
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes, I do.
There he is.
There he is. All right, cool.
That gives me, I'm just going to put it, okay, so I have Anita, Christina, Chris, Dan, Ella, James, Joe, Tom, and Todd. So we have all 9 board members back.
Okay, it's 8:45. I need a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Anita.
She held back, but I got Joe and Anita.
I was holding back. I was doing really good.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to
This
assume
girl.
there's no no's and there are no abstentions. Folks, thanks again for the good work tonight. Man, it's tough. It's not easy being in this chair. We have to make some tough decisions tonight. We'll still be making some more tough ones, but I appreciate the work and the time you all putting in.
So tomorrow is 6, right? Instead of 5:30?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Yeah.
6 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah, for the retreat. And
Oh
again,
yeah, right, we're in person too. So yeah.
the back entrance. And if you,
I'm excited to see people.
and you have to just send Tom an email what you want for dinner. I don't know where he's going.
Tom, send us an email.
What are you doing, Tom, for dinner?
I mean, typically it's Stumpy's, but I can go anywhere you want. I can go to
No, that's fine.
Cooper's Cave, whatever you guys want.
Just so people know where to tell
Cooper's
you.
Go back to Cooper's Cave. Were we talking about that? Was that an option?
Send us an email, Tom.
You guys figure that out.
All right, I'll send an email out. Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night,
everybody.
guys.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night.
Take care.